Challenge yourself to change lives with the Big Belt Buckle Challenge. They make a no-strings-attached charitable donation when participants complete one or all of the 6 athletic challenges. In doing so, they aim to build a worldwide community that transcends sport and encourages people to make a positive lifestyle change while helping those in need. For 2023, a difficult but doable set of challenges has been created by Jeff Privete himself. They have all been inspired by his personal experiences throughout 2022. The events can be done in any order, and with the exception of the Road Gravel Challenge, there is no time limit for completion of a given event. All you have to do is make it through. Completing all 6 will require an incredible amount of dedication, courage, and a willingness to embrace the journey, regardless of the outcome. Won't you join Jeff at thebigbeltbucklechallenge.org? This is the Big Belt Buckle Challenge. Hello and welcome to the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. Welcome, Rod. How you doing, buddy?
I tell you what, I am doing really well considering I had a really rough start to the day. And when you were making this announcement, you know, the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, I thought we could make a sideline one too that's called the Old Entrepreneur Syndicate, you know,
Well,
and we'll just stick around long enough to be part of that one too.
You know, as we say, it's not young in age, it's young in mind and spirit.
Absolutely. Well, as you can see, I'm feeling pretty. In fact, my wife said just this morning, you're feeling pretty spunky.
Ah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
you know, this morning I cruised through Black Rifle Coffee Company and I ran into Andy Stumpf. And after 10 encounters with him, today was the first time I actually had a conversation with him. And we were just talking about business and entrepreneurs and the youth. And I just thought it was really appropriate. He's got Mike Glover coming to the Black Rifle Coffee Shop on a regular basis. And if you don't know Mike Glover, look him up, but he's all about survivalists and he's got his own survival gear company. But one of the things that he'll be talking about is, entrepreneurship as a young adult, and they're trying to bring more to the community. So it was a very healthy conversation with Andy this morning. So Andy, if you're listening, thanks for that. Good to spend some time with you and enjoy some coffee. So there's that.
That is awesome. Absolutely awesome.
I just think it's in the air. Our Monday night calls with the entrepreneurs have been incredible. And I just love following everybody's story and their successes. But you know what really got me excited, Rod, was...
Tell me, Jim, tell me.
I'm going to tell you. So we've got this group text going and
Yes.
with all the members, and somebody had asked for a referral yesterday. And within seconds, another member jumped in and said, "Hey, here's 2. Hope that helps." I threw one out there, and this dialogue was going on just to help a member amongst the members. And I just love that people are working together on stuff.
Well, and it happens so quickly as well. I mean, it's like you said, and it was something I'd never heard of before. And I imagine people in different, spheres, it wouldn't be, uncommon, I don't suppose, but to find a specialist in an area that's a unique niche and to have those referrals pop up just like that, it was pretty incredible. And that just goes to show you the caliber of people we have in the syndicate.
Well,
It really is awesome.
Also, the value of having a membership that you encourage collaboration and connectivity, whether that's through our back-end platform that was developed by Jadari, which is Sean Whalen and Greg Anderson, and as well as kind of a text communication platform where people can connect. Because oftentimes that's missed in these groups, or they get so big, you can't do that. And I think collaboration is so important. So anyways, I just wanted to point that out. If you're listening and you're missing some type of collaboration with people, or you feel like, gosh, I wish I just had somebody I could reach out to, we're the place for you. So consider joining the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, utilizing the tools and the community that's there. So it's a little bit of a shameless plug, but I was so proud of the group. Like, boom, boom, here's some resources for you. And I'm glad they asked.
Well, here's another thing I'm going to throw out there that was related to this. I don't have a virtual business card. And somebody had asked on that thread, about a virtual business card. Well, do you have and it was a V card, and it's like, what the heck is, so all of a sudden now it's like, guess what's on my list to do? Now I've got to go and I need to be a part of the game. Right.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm having to change gears and shift. And, it's like Indian relay races on horses. If you've ever seen that, right?
Oh my gosh.
Like,
that is my only reason for attending the fair every year, is for the Indian relay races.
If nobody's seen that, you need to look it up on YouTube. But I'm telling you, that's what an entrepreneur does. You're running full speed, and sometimes you got to jump off of what you're doing and jump on the next thing and keep going at full speed. And that's what it seems like, a little thing, but it's a virtual business card. If I want to be in the game and keep playing, I got to keep jumping and moving. And now there's AI and all the other stuff, right? We've got to be adding on all the time, learning.
And if you know anything about Indian relay races, is that it's teamwork. You've got the guy riding the horse, you have the horse. So there's two things that are working together, but then you have the team of guys that are holding the next horse. So literally, and like Rod said, you got to look this up. The race starts, you're bareback. No, I don't even know if they have a halter on.
I think they have halters.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're running as fast as you can around the track against 6 to 8, maybe 10 others. And when you come back at the end of your first lap, you were literally jumping off your horse and jumping onto another horse that your team is holding for you. I mean, it takes 5 members to run a successful team and help out. Right. So it's all about collaboration, and the work that needs to be done. So good metaphor. Okay.
I bet you have a topic.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of a heavy topic, but I think it's important. It's relevant. I'm a little bit behind on publishing these shows, so I can't tell you the exact date that this is going to come out right now, Rod, for the purposes of a timestamp. But we just recently had a homeless man that was murdered in our town by 2 high school graduates. Those students won't even get to see their adult lives. They have been caught. They had recorded themselves and published it on social media, and they wound up killing a man. And it is so unfortunate. So unfortunate. But when I dig into it a little bit deeper, and this is what I want to talk about, because I want this message to resonate not only with our listeners, but I'm hoping that people will share this message. And that is the message of having a moral compass of the difference between right and wrong. Okay. And I understand that homelessness is a problem in cities across this country. And it's a difficult problem to overcome. And I understand that it's a burden on its citizens. And oftentimes I don't agree with the approach of the cities to mitigate these problems. But that's not what this message is about today. The message is about us helping one another to be better, kinder versions of ourselves and finding a way to lift each other up. And most importantly, understanding that there's alternatives to violence, but also alternatives to your way of life and ways to find that moral compass in business, in trade, in school, in college, in being the best intrapreneur or employee that you can be, because there's so much more to life than going down the road of trouble and creating trouble up into the level of this crime that these students committed. I just wish that I could have gotten to them sooner and just said, look, guys, there's a better way to start your life when you graduate from high school. So, Rod, the topic of today really is there is hope beyond what's in front of you, and the negativity that we're constantly surrounded by in the media, in the newspapers, between our friends and our family. We need to decipher the difference between right and wrong and following really what I just call that righteous path into a fulfilling life. There's so much out there to live for and not take other people down. So I'll let you weigh in, but it's just been heavy on my heart all morning today. I had to drive by that area where that crime happened. And I just thought, man, I wish these boys would have taken a different approach.
I've been wrestling with this for a couple of days also, Jim. It's amazing when this isn't a news story that you're just seeing somewhere out there. This is our home, right? These are our children. These are a product of our schools. These kids just graduated, right? Where on earth did they cut? This is psychopathic behavior.
Mm-hmm.
To beat an innocent person to death is not fun in games. It's psychopathic. It's wrong. You mentioned the moral compass, and how can anybody think that it's okay to treat another human being of any circumstance in that brutal of a way? It's beyond my understanding. And the fact that there were two involved, and I don't care what started and what escalated. That doesn't even matter. There comes a point where you need to stop. And somebody needs to say, this isn't right. That's enough. Quit. And people need to be that person. You want to talk about leadership? Leadership isn't all about going into battle and rah and charge forward all the time. Sometimes leadership's saying, whoa, you've gone too far. Rein it in.
Yeah.
That's what a good coach does. He's going to rein it in. If you're out there doing that, and this is just sick. One of the things, I'll tell a quick story here. I've got 4 children. When they were young, there was a young man. Well, he was probably a middle-aged man who was a savant. Okay. He delivered papers. He lived with his mother. He was an adult man, but he was just not, I don't want to even use the word normal. He operated in a whole different plane than the rest of the world did. And he delivered papers, and he knew everything about everybody. He never forgot a thing. He literally was a savant. And we taught our children, because other kids would mock him, ridicule him, right? I mean, he was, and he just let it roll off his back. I don't know how, but he was just a kind, gentle man. And we taught our kids, and his name was Francis June, passed away a few years ago. Francis June. He was an incredible man, and we always stopped and talked to him. And we taught our children, this man is worthy of your respect. You respect everybody. And that was one of the lessons we taught our children. Every single person is deserving and worthy of nothing but your best respect. And Francis came to our house one day, and he was having a dire bowel emergency. And he asked my wife, Marcy, and he was very formal all the time, Marcy, I hate to bother you. Can I use your bathroom? And it's one thing to be cordial and kind to somebody when they want to come into your house. And let me tell you what, this was an explosive issue. It was terrible, a terrible, terrible ordeal, but we did it anyway. Right. My wife did it anyway. And afterward we could chuckle about it and say, holy cow, that was something. But, everybody is deserving of our respect. Mm-hmm. All lives matter. And here's the other thing. I'm going to get on a little social thing here for a second. This is where this whole diversity thing has created the divisiveness that
Absolutely.
It was supposed to erase. Diversity creates divisiveness if it's pushed on and it becomes an agenda. Diversity as just this is how we are and this is who we are is one thing, but diversity as an agenda is cruel, and it leads to divisiveness, and it leads to disaster. And that's what happened in our community. And that, and probably a myriad of other things, from people, I don't know, I won't even go in it further than that. Diversity as an agenda is a problem.
Well, Rod, and that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about briefly, and that is understanding what's happening in the environment around you. Having the ability to step back and look around, and I've said this, it's been a while since I really said this, but it's about knowing your own truths. We can see things on social media, and the people that produce this content wants you to believe that this is what's happening everywhere. And when I look around and I look at my own truths, I see a lot of kind-hearted people in the place that I live and the other places I've lived. I haven't seen the level of diversity. I haven't seen the level of racism. I haven't seen the level of hate that you see on social media or in the liberal news that's being pushed to the forefront of the things that they're wanting to talk about. So me knowing my own truths, I realize that this is a bunch of crap. And so I'm not becoming a victim of that. And this is the actual real problem, is that our youth have not developed the capacity and the world knowledge to understand that what they're seeing on social media, what they're hearing in the news cycle isn't necessarily the truth, but it's what they're being led to believe. And in this case, probably acted on what they thought was a terrible problem and they needed to fix it, or whatever it was, or that violence was okay. And I have a real problem with what is being allowed for our youth and our young adults. Matter of fact, even us, mature adults, what we're being allowed to see or what's being pushed on us, because it's changing our behaviors in a not so good way. And so I want people to understand that there is your own truths, your own understandings. And if you're not quite sure about what that looks like, the best thing that you can do, the best approach you can do, is approach the world in the kindest, gentlest way possible and be of value to your mankind, your fellow person, to your neighbor, to your community. Work hard, provide, create, generate something new, something fun, solutions. There's so many more opportunities out there than what you believe there to be, because all I see on the news cycle, and I'm not going to go down a conspiracy that this is intended, although I believe that it is. There's so many more opportunities that you can create outside of what you're seeing on the TV or on your telephone. And just know, and this is Rod, and please weigh in on this. We created the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate because we saw and felt the hopelessness in this country. And we wanted to send a message out to anybody that would listen, is that there is opportunity out there for you to find success, for you to create a life that would make you satisfied and happy. And that's why we talk about values so much, and how to take those values and generate that into a rewarding career, whether that's entrepreneur, investor, trade school, whatever that looks like. We want to give you the tools so you don't feel like you're in a place of hopelessness or in a place where you think that crime is going to solve the world's problems, because it's not. So that's my soapbox. We could probably, I want you to weigh in, but I'm going to end that side of the story from my side, and we'll move on after your.
You put a quarter in me when you first got started on this, so I'll do a little bit more. First, I do think I'm with you. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fact. The fact is that social media has desensitized an entire generation. That's a fact.
Yeah.
We're seeing it. You brought this up, and I just saw a reel on a news program where on a subway there was somebody sleeping on a bench, not even a homeless person. This was just somebody sleeping. People work nights, they lay down. This person was laying down, and some younger guy, again, youth, dressed nicely, wearing all the nice stuff, starts doing, and somebody's got a phone recording this, right? And he jumps up and just body slams this guy who's sleeping on the thing. And the guy, of course, wakes up and is like, what happened? And the guy's just off, like, oh, what happened? And this is, brutality has become entertainment. And it's one thing if you're watching UFC or boxing or a football game. If people choose to do things for sport, it's mutually agreed upon, and it still has rules. There are rules to follow, and our society has rules. A sporting event has rules. Racing has rules. Everything has rules. And if you're breaking the rules, you are the one who's in the wrong. And we've got a whole culture where our society is focused not on the people who are upholding the rules, but the people who are violating the rules. And the video gaming, I think, is part of this. It's part of the desensitization. And so parents, watch what your kids are watching. Watch what you're watching, and at least be aware of it and say, did they have to put that scene in the movie? Did they? How many slasher movies can you make before you change things up a little bit? We don't need to be watching that stuff. That shouldn't be our entertainment. It just shouldn't. And find something else. Find an alternative.
Well, Rod, to touch on that, if you go back to the January 6th issue in DC, that didn't get a lot of play in the media by intention, was Donald Trump saying, hey, we're going to go down to the Capitol, but I don't want to see any violence. That's not who we are. But yet when you put on social media, you see a lot of ethnic people generating violence on others. And what that does by them only promoting those groups, it riles up the other side. And that was Trump's point of saying, we're going to go peacefully. That's not who we are. And it isn't who we are. So it doesn't matter what you're seeing on social media. We need to rise up and be the better side of the equation, whatever that looks like to you. Just because, and it's crazy because I don't live in Chicago or New York or in some of these crime-ridden cities, but that's all that pops up on my social media. And I would think that the world's falling apart and these other ethnicities are after me and want to beat me up if I show up there, which isn't true. And so then all of a sudden I get riled up. It's like, well, I'm going to get them. Well, I'm mature enough to know that that's not the case, nor would I do that. So please be careful of what you're consuming and understand that there is intent behind that to rile you up and create exactly what we saw in our small town. And it's unfortunate. The alternative is create something positive in your life. I love this. And I'm transitioning now, Rod, if you're not catching this.
Let's go. Something positive in your life.
A lot of Christians talk about, money can't be your God, and it shouldn't be, by the way. However, creating income and creating wealth affords you the opportunity to help other people. Now, I understand that some homeless people want to be homeless. I've heard the interviews. Some homeless people are on drugs and alcohol, and that they're exactly where they want to be. And they need to hit rock bottom before they can dig out of that hole. And that's unfortunate. With our success, we can help create programs that will help the mentally ill, that will help people rise out of their circumstances. And I'm not saying that we should condone and provide homeless shelters. I'm talking about helping the mentally ill and eliminating some of those people that genuinely need some help in the right ways. And it's through our success that we're able to do that. So I think the number one tools that we can put in our tool chest to make a difference is have good values and a moral compass, is to be healthy so that you can be there for your family, so that you can work hard, provide for others, and be able to make a good income and maybe have some success so that finally you can help others and raise them up out of the shallows if that's where they're at, and make a difference, a genuine difference. So I would encourage you to do everything you can to be the best version of yourself, find success. We would love to help you find success and then be able to help others with your financial gains.
I have nothing to add to that, Jim. That's that is absolutely stellar. The one thing I will add is, well, gosh, I don't want to get into a tithing message here, but a lot of people, and you brought up Christianity and whatever faith you're in, most all of them have a portion where they're giving, right? That's how they sustain their synagogues and their mosques and everything. People give, right? But it's up to us to hold the leaders of those places accountable also.
Yep.
We give to them. And a lot of people think, well, I don't have money to give to the homeless or to this cause because I give to the church. Well, make sure that your church is doing what you want with the money. Just like we should tell our representatives what we want them to do with our tax dollars, we should be in communication with our spiritual leadership to say, this is what we want to see done with those funds, and make sure that our local churches are helping solve these local problems. Let's start there. That's right in our own backyard. So you can't just say, well, I gave. No, you have to be involved and give.
Well, let me say this too, Rod. You bring up a very good point. Using the homeless as an example again. Okay, so you're dissatisfied with the homeless in your city. You've found success. You've got some extra money in your pocket, which means more than likely you've got some extra time. Well, guess what? You can do something about the homeless problem. You could run for a county commissioner position. You can run for city council. You can run for mayor, our school board, health board. There's a lot of ways through your success that will afford you time to become a contributing member of your community, just like you and I are, Rod. You were on the city council. Now you're on the health board. I'm on a school board. I'm helping candidates run for office that I believe will make a difference in some of these things that we're complaining about. So there's ways that you can affect society through your success. If both of us were working 60, 70 hours a week and barely getting by because, we've struggled for one reason or another, we weren't focused, we didn't have the tools, we wouldn't be able to contribute in a way that we are currently. So again, I remind people that through your success, you can give back and help solve these problems because, we always blame the homeless, but really what's the real problem? That your community or your city hasn't provided the proper resources to combat the problem, whatever that looks like. And I know that's a whole other show here, but we're not going to do that. But you can get involved through your success. So I want to leave it at that because oftentimes people stop short of doing what is needed.
I agree. Well, I think maybe what we ought to do, and I was talking about this earlier, we might have to do a part 2. We can pick this up another time and go a little deeper into the weeds, but we're not going to fix this problem, but we certainly are not going to change the needle if we don't have the hard conversations.
I agree. I agree.
We need to keep this on our radar because it's part of our mission statement, right? Our personal mission statements and our business mission statement. We're here to make a difference. And the biggest thing is people have to first invest in themselves. And that's how you do it. You can't help other people if you're not first investing in yourself.
Well, one of the things that Andy Frisella says oftentimes on his podcast, it's the real AF, if you have not listened to it. And so he's critiqued often for talking about politics on his podcast because he really is. He's a business podcast, and that's where he's found his success. His show used to be called the MF CEO. Well, here's his point, and I love it. Your opportunity to succeed in business has to do with how your city, state, and country are being ran and who's running them. So don't have your head in the sand and pay attention to what's happening in your surroundings. And that's why these are important topics for us to be talking about, Rod.
Absolutely.
All right, let's wrap it up there. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. If you did, please share it. I've noticed that there's been more shares out there. The show is doing well. And thank you for listening. And if you haven't visited the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, please do so. We'd love to have you a part of our community and bring some value to you, like we talked about earlier in the show. And hope to see you next week, Rod, having a little bit more fun on these shows. I don't know if we'll do part 2 next week. Might have a new topic for you.
There's always something new, but I'm going to date stamp this right now for posterity's sake. But let's put a date stamp on this. It's Mr. Riley's wedding anniversary today. 9-year anniversary. There, I date stamped it. Now we know when we had this conversation.
I love it. All right.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you, Rod. Appreciate it. June 28th. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend.